External conflict is conflict that exists between a character and an outside force. There are 5 kinds of external conflict: person versus society, person versus nature, person versus technology, and person versus fate. Person versus person conflict is your standard plotline where 2 characters struggle against each other. Think about the old fairy tale of Cinderella. In that conflict, Cinderella faces an issue with her evil stepmother and mean stepsisters. The story continues to be propelled along by more and more conflicts between Cinderella and her mean family. Person versus society describes a conflict where a character struggles against the views of a community. For instance, in the story we read last week, The Bracelet, Ruri and her family faced an issue when the government sent them to a concentration camp simply because they were Japanese, and Japan had just bombed Pearl Harbor. The struggle was between Ruri's Japanese heritage and the society's views after the bombing that all Japanese people were dangerous. Take another example from Disney. In The Hunchback of Notre Dame, Quasimodo struggled against society's views that he was too unsightly and unattractive to be part of normal society. His struggle was between the societal assumption that only beautiful people are allowed in public, and he had to be hidden away in the bell tower of a church. The next type of conflict is person versus nature. Person versus nature is a conflict where a character battles against the forces of nature. Think about the books Hatchet or My Side of the Mountain. In both of those stories, young boys live in the wilderness and have to survive by creating shelter and hunting their own food. Other examples of person versus nature can include battling against the elements in weather, other animals, or general surviving in the wilderness. Whenever one of those happens, the conflict is person versus nature. The next type of conflict is person versus technology. This is when a character experiences conflict with a form of technology. Think about science fiction stories where man-made robots rebel and attack humanity. The robotic technology presents the conflict for the human protagonists. Take, for example, the Terminator series, where robots rebel against humanity. The technology conflict can also take the form of issues with electricity, phones, computers, or cars. In this day and age, there's no end to problems with technology. The last type of conflict, external conflict, is person versus fate. This describes a conflict in which a character does battle with some force that is beyond his or her control, that may be considered that character's fate or destiny. Think about Harry Potter. It was Harry's fate, his uncontrollable destiny based on a prophecy, that made him the boy who lived. In each book, that fate caused Voldemort to continue trying to kill him. These are the 4 types of external conflict that propel stories forward.